Hey folks, my name is Pravus, and welcome to New Cycle! This is a new post-apocalyptic colony builder that's been on my watch list for a while now, and I'm very excited to get to jump into this game a bit early. If you haven't seen it before, the best way I can describe it is this game is going to be a blend between Frostpunk, Anno, and maybe a bit of Surviving the Aftermath. This game is developed by a new studio called Core Engage, very ambitious for a debut title, and it's published by Desolate Entertainment, who are the sponsors for this video and the next couple of videos as we deep dive into this game. New Cycle is not released quite yet at the time that I'm releasing this video, but it will be very soon on January 18th. Of course, that means as you watch this video, if you like what you see and you want to learn more about New Cycle, there will be a link in the description down below, and I'd encourage you to click on that. Without any further ado, let's start up a new game. Now, in this version of the game I'm working with right now, we have access to Sandbox and, of course, a campaign with a story mode, which we'll play around with today, though you can see there are going to be a couple of other special game modes that will be introduced later on with some extra challenges or different perspectives from different characters. But for now, the campaign sounds pretty fun. There are 3 maps currently available, a 4th will be coming down the pipeline at some point, and each one does have some different starting conditions, resources, difficulty, etc. I was recommended to play on the meadow, probably because it's the easiest to get plenty of water, though it is a bit smaller and harder to settle on, so hopefully this is the right call for us, though the tundra, of course, has less agriculture, scarcer resources, harsher weather, etc. The steppes, lots of minerals, and so on. But the meadow should be fine. Let's begin. And here we are in our wasteland. Now, what is the story for this game? What is the pretext? Well, at some point, a massive solar flare emitted from the sun, which knocked out all communications and electronics and circuitry on Earth, destroying our modern technology. And in the chaos that ensued, humanity kind of proceeded to cannibalize upon itself. Unnecessary wars, fights over resources, and so on. We basically broke all civilization back down. So now we are rebuilding. We are a generation that has never grown up in the old world. We are adapted to this world, but now we need to find out, is it possible for us to reconstruct a thriving society? Is there hope for humanity? First step we're going to take, of course, is we need to be placing down our main hall. So we've reached this unknown land after a long journey. Let's go to our residence tab down over here. You can see that there are going to be a handful of different building tabs that we can work with. For now, though, the main hall is the primary building, and I'm going to place that probably in this general area over here. I think this looks pretty good. All right. So with this getting placed down, we now need to get things connected up to some roads. We have 35 citizens, or rather I should say 35 workers that have moved into our town, and we're going to get a few basic resources up and rolling. And this does trigger a nice little introduction to that story I have been talking about. It's been half a century since the first solar flare, which catastrophically destroyed all of our technological infrastructure and so on. And I am going to leave the tutorial on. It's just going to help give us a better sense of direction, though ultimately in this video and the next 2 videos that I'll be doing up until this game's release, I want to cover as much content as I can in depth. Alright, so the first thing we need to do, very primitive, but we need to gather up some logs and some stone, and for that we're going to need to get ourselves a field camp located in the resource tab, and with this we can look around and find, oh look, there's a whole bunch of resources to enjoy here. Tons of lumber. I do need this stone. There's some iron over here too, but I don't think that's what I'm looking for. Let's go ahead and set up probably over in this general direction. I think this is fine. Plenty of stone. We can access the iron later on. We need to get this thing built up, which we should see in just a little bit. Yep, some of our workers are going to exit our main hall and drag some key resources over here and get this constructed, which is going up in just a moment. There we go. With this built up, we now can assign some of our workers. I need to have 3 people who are currently assigned to woodcutting and 3 who are assigned to getting ourselves some stone cutters. This tells me I'm going to get about 18 lumber per day and about 14 stone per day. And there are plenty of available resources nearby, though be warned, most of the resources in this map are going to be finite. We will need to have new ways of getting raw resources later on, but that is a mid to late game problem. For now, this should do fine. So we'll give the game a brief moment to go ahead and start gathering up these resources. A couple things I want to point attention to, though. There are a number of resources shown up here in the top. I do believe When you get toward the late game, there's supposed to be at least 40 different resources you're going to have to worry about, but the early game mostly comes down to basic survival. You need to have building resources, you need food, you need water, survive the elements and the winter, that kind of an idea. Down on the bottom right, you may also notice that we do have a weather cycle. There's a seasonal cycle here. Right now we are, of course, in spring. Come winter, things are going to get a heck of a lot harder. Hopefully we will build up long before that. Now we need to build up a lumber mill. This is going to take some of the logs we are gathering and process it into something we can use for most of our construction. Let's go to production, and here I'm going to select that lumber mill. Now, where do we want to place this? We can place it pretty close to where we already have our field camp, and that's not the worst idea, or we could place it kind of close to the center of town. And I don't think that's a bad idea either, honestly. I like having production, generally speaking, close to the center of a town, then a lot of residences, and then mostly raw material gathering on the outside, bringing everything into a nice industrial core. We can start producing some of these planks. You can see here there actually would be another resource we can produce here later, though we have not yet unlocked that. That's fine. This is going to tell us what the production chain looks like. One log is ultimately going to go into creating those planks. We can assign some folks, and we do ideally want to get this connected up to a road network. That would make sense. Now, as we assign more people here, what we should find is this building starts becoming more efficient, but it's not going to reach peak efficiency. Technology and other things are going to make that very useful. For now, though, this should be fine. We need to go to our residences and get some roads set up as soon as we have some lumber produced. Roads are not free in this game, so we need to make sure we have plenty to work with before I bother getting everything connected. There we go. All right, next step, the tutorial is complete. What's that going to lead to? Answer those roads I was talking about. We need to get everything nice and connected. Now, in this case, this should be really easy for me because I placed the two really close together, and all we would have to do is something like this, and oh, lo and behold, they're connected, right? But there are some fun things about roads in this game. If I were to hit tab, you'll see we no longer follow a grid. Instead, I can kind of have a bit more of a free-form thing here with some of my roads, which is kind of fun. And if I were to, let's say, go over here and then hit shift left mouse button, we'd add a point, and then I can start free-forming my roads. So if you want to follow a grid for efficiency, you can. If you want the aesthetics of nice curvy roads, go for it. All right, the next thing the game is saying I need is water, and I do strongly agree with this. We need to place down some wells. Water, very, very important resource, or we're all going to die. Now you can see there's a water layer that automatically turns on to our map, so we can see where the water is the most abundant. Keep an eye on where you want to place this well, because in the top left, it's giving you an idea of just how many resources there are to be had. You want the richer locations. If I were to place a well, let's say over here, yeah, there's a tiny bit of water, but it's going to run out very, very, very quickly, and we do not want that. So I think a well over here could make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, this should be fine. There we go. Nice curvy road. And I believe we're going to see in a second that this is, yep, there we go. It is now officially considered to be connected to a road, even if it isn't on the grid. Now, wells do not require workers. It's automatically going to start extracting some water, so that's going to be fine. We do need people to go get the water and use it later on. So there is still some travel time involved, but I don't need water carriers up front. There we go. All right, and now we need to start getting some food. That makes perfect sense. Now, it does appear that mushrooms are your primary method of getting some forageable food, though hunting is going to be a thing eventually. We want to place down a gathering camp. This is kind of a catch-all. It works for the mushrooms, the fish, and the meat, sustaining the supply chain. So we can actually see some meat is over here, and there's the mushrooms and stuff. Honestly, I don't see any reason not to just go ahead and place this in an area where it can take advantage of as many food sources as possible, especially if we're going to get to winter. So let's go ahead and place that right there, and of course, we want to hook that up to a road. Now, what's this I see here in the bottom left? A group of travelers appeared near our settlement. Hello, we see some people walking around. Yep, foreigners. So people can immigrate into your city, though there is a proper birth cycle in this game as well. So there are a couple of different methods that you can grow your population. Now we need to do something with these mushrooms. We need to turn it into a delicious mushroom soup, all right? So we need to research basic construction, we need to build a soup kitchen, and then produce some simple meals. So let's take a look at our technology, which is under the development tree over here on the left. All right, let's begin the basic construction. This is going to take some research knowledge, I guess, is the resource we're using here. It's going to take about 24 hours, and it's going to cost me some of my lumber. No big deal. Now, how are we going to gain some additional knowledge up over here? It looks like it just produces by your population per day. Now, we do have 3 different classes of populace, right? We have the worker, the craftsman, and the specialist. If we click up over here, we can actually see what that would look like, though I don't have craftsmen and specialists as of yet. Workers obviously do very menial jobs. More trained people can become craftsmen and they work certain different industries, something that requires a bit more technical specialization. And then, of course, there's the specialists who are going to be the cream of the crop, so to speak. I imagine each different class is going to have different expectations and demands. But for now, we're very much in the early subsistence start of the game, so workers are all that I need. I know I don't need to do this, by the way. I'm just going to go ahead and, actually place some paths along the main road, just so I have it here. It's kind of like creating my own custom spline in some CAD modeling. Hold on, there's a lighthouse! How did I not even notice this thing? Ooh, a ruin. Yeah, vanishing remnant of the old world. May still hold gifts for us. Aha, might even be able to be brought back to life. Nifty, that sounds like foreshadowing. All right, development complete. That means we need to go to our production and place down a soup kitchen. Soup! Everyone loves mushroom soup, right? I mean, not me, but that's beside the point. Is there other technology I want to start working on? Living standards. Yeah, it's going to take 30 hours. Oh, I don't have enough lumber anymore. We'll come back to this one in just a bit as soon as I'm able to do that, though we can see that in theory the tech tree will start to grow once we finish up Cycle 1, Foundations. At some point, we're going to get to a new Iron Age, and there's going to be a lot more that comes after that, but we're not allowed to get a preview. You're not supposed to have some sort of, prophetic knowledge of how technology is going to redevelop. That's ridiculous. I like some of the animations as these guys go around, by the way. And these people, I'm not even sure what this guy's doing, but he's coming around with some sort of a cart. I don't know where I got a cart, but it looks cool. Anyway, Soup Kitchen should be finished in just a moment, and as before, we need to make sure we select the resource. Mushroom soup specifically, and assign 4 people to go work there. That's going to produce about 29 per day as long as we can continue producing mushrooms and water. All of that's going to go into our meal queue up over here. We can see some simple meals. This is going to eventually update as days progress. We can see how much on average we're producing versus how much we're consuming. In theory, I'm consuming 8 meals per day. I suspect it's actually more than that, but this is saying we'll produce about 29 per day. So this should tell me that I am producing plenty of food, at least for now, so we can properly stockpile this. Now, we can control a few things like, let's say, rations and stuff for our people. If I were to click back up over here, we can see our population management, which shows the different classes we were talking about. We can see how many adults and children and people we have, those who are currently unoccupied or unemployed, and then also the distribution of key resources like food and water. Now, there are a couple very important things you need to be aware of right here. We've got workforce. This suggests how many hours, roughly, or full-time days, I guess you could say, that people will be working. If you desperately need a lot more resources, you can try to toggle this up and have people work long hours. Though this does eventually start having some negative impacts on morale, and even if you were to overcome that with some amenities, they'll still become exhausted and sick if they overwork themselves, so you don't want to do that for too long. Then, of course, there's efficiency. The higher your morale is, the better your production is going to be as well. So even if you increase your labor, if morale goes down, there's a little bit of a trade-off, and you're going to need to manage both in order to be successful. Right now, our morale is really quite low. What I could do is go to the distribution of our food and water and say, at the very least, let's go to more of a medium distribution of this, which is going to boost up morale just a little bit, and we'll do that for both the water and for the food. So we should see that tomorrow, once the new rules take effect, this should start to improve just a bit. Anyway, alright, so we now can move on to our last step here, which is going to be things like health and other important metrics for our people. So let's go up over here to our overview and our reports, and from here we can learn a lot more about our colony. So we can see, where there's going to be some various different mineral deposits and storage, electricity, etc. All that's going to be important. Any currently active regulations and laws. That's cool. Here's some information about life expectancy. Right now, our health is very low. That is not great, but the higher our food quality and stuff is going to be, the better. We're not attracting very many immigrants. Our storage and stuff is looking pretty good. Here's an overview of all of our different people and their needs. Here's some information about our structures, our current materials, and so on. All of that is awesome. Let's go ahead and research those living standards. I wouldn't mind being able to unlock some very basic shacks. Right now, nobody has any proper shelter, and that's going to make them all very sad, especially with winter on the way. Now, for a residential area, I wouldn't mind having more of a grid for very efficient housing and stuff, so I'll go ahead and lay out some pathing kind of like this. There's the shack. All right, let's go back to the residences, and we can start placing down some of these houses. Perfect. Anyway, it looks like each house is able to take care of 10 people. So 4 houses is exactly what I'm looking for in order to make sure that everyone is going to have shelter before the winter hits. Now, one thing I don't know is how and when we're going to be able to move on to our next round of tech. It says cycles, right? So it's totally possible that we have to wait until year 2 or something like that. It just kind of depends on what they mean by cycle here. I'm assuming we're going to find out at some point, because I'd love to move on and get things like a power grid, metalworking, hunting, and so on. All of that would be great. But for now, all right, no problem. Let's just get the basics. Oh, and I didn't even think about naming my camp. I probably should do things like that. Oh, wait, actually, no, hang on. We can see the cycles right here. Ow! Okay, I've answered my own question. I love it when things are intuitive. All right, we clicked up here so I can change the name, but it turns out you can see here exactly what it takes to reach the next cycle. And in this case, I need one more person. Plus, it's going to take 700 knowledge, which is no big deal. As far as a name, I don't know. I feel like generations after the old world fell apart, we'll hear rumors of things, but like a game of telephone, we forget what old cities used to be named. So I'm going to call this New Bjork. There we go. I even got the little symbol on here. It works. Beautiful. All right, we've got it. What is this? Oh, there's a sandstorm. Oh, whoa. Okay, hold on. I wasn't expecting a natural disaster to come through immediately. Right, that's awful. Smoke clouds, huh? We've observed a large fire in the distance. We're unfortunately unfamiliar with this situation. Stay indoors. All right. So, -7 health, -45 workforce, but morale goes up and then fires are brought under control. Or health goes way down as people breathe in the smoke and morale drops significantly and there's a high chance of fire. All right, we're going to avoid exposure as much as we can. That's just going to have to be okay. So we've got these protective restrictions active for the next few days. Good lord, this is actually kind of spoopy over here. Oh good, and winter is now on its way too. So on top of everything, mushroom gathering has halted, farms cannot produce, and health naturally starts to trend down due to the extreme cold. By the way, something I don't think that I said earlier in this game here, the aesthetic of this game, when I said it was kind of similar to Frostpunk, this is actually a diesel punk style of game. At some point, we're going to get to things like some oil production and unlock some big, heavy industry, and it's going to have a very interesting kind of fire-ish, hellish industrial scape to it, which is going to look absolutely awesome. So I'm looking forward to seeing that later on, at least in the next couple of videos, if not in this one. Also, another similarity that exists with things like Frostpunk is apparently there is very much going to be a sort of morality system that can go along with this game, as you make some difficult decisions that may improve the lives of your people, or maybe will make them upset, but it's necessary in order to make sure that we survive, right? Those kind of difficult leadership versus altruism decisions, which is very awesome, and I say bring it on. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, good. Now that spring is here, everyone's feeling more optimistic. Morale jumps up by 40. Also, mushroom, meat, and water resources have been, at least to some degree, renewed, though you can see it's only a 61% renewal rate, depending a lot on things like the precipitation of our map. In the meadow, it should be reasonably good. In other maps, less so. And then what is this? Storage is getting close to full. Do I have a way of building up some more storage? I sure as heck do. I could place down a nice honkin' stockpile. That does seem like the sort of thing that I would want. So let's go ahead and plan on placing one of these down. There we go. Stockpile is built. We can see it's starting to populate with a handful of different resources. We could have some storage limits and then dump a bunch of things. All right, that's good. That's great. Anyone want to have a baby? Baby would be great right about now. Actually, we should have enough population. We just have to wait for one of them to reach adulthood. I don't know how long that takes. I assume this is not one of those games where it tries to be realistic and it actually takes like 18 years for someone to reach adulthood, you know? Oh, and some foreigners just arrived. Excellent. Please immigrate. I would really like to make a technological leap forward. Yes, they want to join. Thank God. Alrighty. That means we're up to 43 population. Can we now click on this and move on? Oh, there we go. Okay, it starts at the beginning of the next day. I guess you have to make sure you sustained the fact that you have knowledge and population. You can't just have like a temporary boost. Perfect. All right. Welcome to the new Iron Age. That means we have access to a tavern, a forge, a smith, and a windmill, and a bunch of new resources we need to worry about. That sounds great. Let's go to our research and decide what we want to work on immediately here. I'm thinking some community needs to get morale up wouldn't be bad. We're doing okay on food. So for now, this is good, and there's not any point moving on to hunting until I get some tools, because I can see it's going to cost me 22, so I need to get metalworking techniques first. But this makes plenty of sense. I need to have happy people. Oh, but we do have an urgent matter, apparently. Losing hope? Our unstable living standards are about to consume us. We should strive to keep close eye on people's morale. Do something to improve it within a few days. Increase morale above 40. All right. I don't know how good a tavern's going to be, but I'd like to believe that that's very possible. So we will see. Oh, and 2 adults just became children as well. Okay, well, that's good. I don't know how long we have to complete this objective. Presumably not, for a while. Sturdy roofs. We need some better shelters. Build 3 shacks. I can do that. That is excessive. We've only had 5 people who are homeless at the moment, but sure, if you really, really want me to get some more of these up and running now, we can do that. And community needs has been researched. Let's go ahead and work on the metalworking techniques. Then we want to go down to, I assume it's residence? No, utilities? There it is, tavern. Consumes 55 electricity, and we need iron. Ah, dang it. All right, so we really need to get the metalworking up and running first. There may have been some sort of indicator for that, and I missed it. So that may be a little bit harder to get the morale up there than I thought. Okay, we have now got access to the forge and the smith and so on. Iron ore. We should go over here and assign 3 people to start gathering up some of the iron over there. Then under production, we know we need to get ourselves a forge. And we also need to get ourselves a smith, which is going to take 9 iron ingots, and obviously I don't have that as of yet. Let's assign 3 more people over here, so we should be able to start producing iron ingots. We'll get about 18 per day. 3 ore required in order to make this. All right, so knowing that's the case, we'll let this recalculate and see how we're going, but I bet you we're not producing enough iron ore anymore. Working with iron. Okay, people want tools. Understandable. It's kind of hard to gather stone and stuff with your fingers now, ain't it? Let's go ahead and start researching that power grid now that I've got a few bars. We'll just go ahead and suck a few of those up. I really do want to get that tavern. We can probably just go ahead and build the tavern, and we can actually see exactly what its radius is going to be. All right, so knowing that, this is roughly where I want to be placing this, and I can actually surround this pretty perfectly with a bunch of other houses. So this is a good neighborhood district. Let's do that. And now the smith is done. Let's go ahead and assign, I guess we could do 5 workers, though that may be excessive for now. But let's go with that. I've only got, I think, 7 people who are currently still unemployed. Not sure how many we need for the tavern, but this should be about perfect. And these tools are going to open up some new options. Moving forward, we can upgrade the main hall. A community center made up of tents doesn't feel very secure. Ah, sure, all right. I mean, I wouldn't mind upgrading the main hall. And in the meantime, the tavern is done. Perfect. So from here, we would be able to spend some dairy and some alcoholic beverages in order to make people happy. Well, I don't have these. Hopefully you guys just like having a community center and that also makes you happy. The power grid is ready to go. Let's go ahead and unlock hunting. I don't have tools, never mind. Resources? No. Production, utilities, windmill. There it is. All right, this is going to produce electricity. Now, unlike the water layer, we do have a wind layer, which should give us an idea as to how much electricity we can generate in a few spots. It's not looking great in most places, though. Where's a good spot for a windmill? This seems kind of sucky. Ah, over here by the shore would do the job pretty well. Okay, fair enough. Right around over here is actually about perfect. I'm actually not sure how much power this is going to produce, so we'll get 1 built and then we'll find out. Tool supply is low. It should basically be non-existent because we still haven't made any of these things because I don't have enough iron ingots. We'll get there, though, in due time. Oh, also, this thing takes power in order to make. Oh. So I can't make tools regardless. Right, fair enough. Get the windmills, please. All right, so let's see. Distribution of tools is a new thing. I wouldn't mind distributing at least a few tools per day. We should be able to produce plenty. Yeah, we're making 25 a day. So why not just go to like a regular distribution of this in order to make sure that productivity and stuff is boosted? Morale goes up, more efficient people are better workers. And now we have enough electricity. So one of these was not as good as some of the others. So we got 100 power constant there. But we've got a slight excess. All right, so let's keep an eye on this. It does look like our housing has met their electricity needs. I'm still not sure what they were doing with that electricity and why it would matter, but apparently it do. And what's our main hall look like now? I think it's slightly improved. Less of just kind of like a random shack made of detritus. Now it actually looks like a slightly respectable building. Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and preemptively work on getting myself another soup kitchen, just because I think that that would be grand. And mainly because if I'm going to be having a new source of food, that should mean I can go to things like the Gatherer's Hut, which is over here. And I can assign people to get me fish, or I can start getting some meat. Let's start getting some meat because I imagine the leather will be helpful to get clothes and boost morale that away. So we'll do that, and then one soup kitchen can be dedicated to mushroom soup, and the other will be dedicated to, what is it? Fried meat! I mean, as an American, I know I love my fried meats. I approve of this. What is this new event? Life in regulation. We need rules. Nah, anarchy, baby! Alright, Chief, our transition to settled life will bring dozens of issues. Rules and regulations will be needed to keep everything in order and running smoothly. We've come to believe we're now entitled to some freedoms. Are you now? We'll continue to comply with our assigned work schedules. However, anyone who doesn't want to get up in the morning and go to work should be able to buy some extra rest by selling his share of food and some other supply. This would allow us to barter amongst ourselves. So do we allow for free trade? This is going to boost morale, but reduce workforce for all classes. So instead of 100%, product or workday, it's gonna be like a 95% workday. Still, the extra morale, I suspect, actually will result in them being more productive regardless. So, all right, sure. So we need 3 more people in order to progress. I have just enough knowledge. Sure, can we get some immigrants or more children? 6 children were born this last year. 6 of them, huh? All right, well, that's phenomenal. If anyone wants to grow up, that'd be great. Whoa, and somebody has died due to a catastrophe. We're no strangers to death, but this is the first time we've encountered it since we settled here. There are many factors that affect health and so on. Yeah, this isn't one of them. This is just bad straight-out luck. I heard lightning and someone died. Hold on, 15% morale reduction. What guts? Whoa! My brand new soup kitchen? No! I wonder how we're going to be able to get around things like that in the future. Are we able to place down like some giant lightning rods and stuff like that? Maybe even harness the energy? That'd be kind of cool. A little advanced, but cool. We're also capped out on things like leather. Yeah, I do feel like it'd be really cool to go ahead and start producing some clothing soon. I'll bet you the next age, maybe we can start working toward, yeah, there's weaving and stuff right down here, so that could be good. Vocational training. I'll bet you we can start getting ourselves some craftsmen. That seems important. Well, we'll go ahead and admit the Wanderers. That gets me 6 more population to work with. A merchant on the way as well. Wait until the next day, and then I'm hoping we find out we are now in Cycle 3. New Cycle! All right, we have reached a new era, which means we have access to a kale yard? I'm sorry, hold on. In this post-apocalyptic world, you're going to rediscover farming, and the first thing you decide you want to start growing is kale? I mean, I know it's a superfood, but blech! I really don't like kale. It's disgusting. Basic mines, kilns, pits, scouts guild. Okay, that's going to be important for exploration later on. And yes, getting exploration and outposts and outside resources brought in is a thing. Technical boot camp to get the craftsman and a tailor from which the craftsman will need to work, plus a bunch of new resources, as you can see down here. And paper, I am pretty sure, is a resource we're going to need in order to start educating people. So this is looking very good. All right, let's go ahead and get vocational training kind of immediately. I feel like placing down another lumber mill over here wouldn't be a bad idea either, because I'm pretty sure that's where you're going to be making things like paper. All right, technical boot camp. It's time to send people to trade school. Also, storing knowledge. Hello. We've grown fast, Chief. I agree. Knowledge will gain more and more importance as we keep growing. We need 400 paper. Our days of forgetting are over. The only problem is I actually don't have very many workers that I can spare to make into craftsmen, at least not yet. Knowing we're doing so well on food, I guess I'll pull off the fish for now. We don't really need that. If I can get like 3 craftsmen and then start getting some tailoring up and running, that would feel pretty good. So with weaving, I need 850 paper? Oh, Lord. Oh, my God. All right, almost everything from here on out is going to take an absolute ton of paper in addition to knowledge in order to research. Wow. It's fine. We can do it. Go ahead and start training up the craftsmen. Training complete. We have 3 craftsmen. I don't know if there's a chance of, like, failing. That would be interesting. I have no idea. Anyway, I've got 3 unemployed craftsmen. I got an idea what to do with you. We'll get there. Just gonna take a second. That's enough paper. Get the weaving. Wait. Required first to get the building statics. Dang it, I could have done this anyway. Building a future. Let's aim to increase our population to 100 within the next 4 years. Sure. Yeah, I mean, if we can get that, if we can double our population in the next 4 years, I'm totally open to it. But y'all need to get it on if that's how it's going to work. There's that development done. Now we can move on to things like the weaving. Let me guess. The tailor is going to cost me some bricks or something, isn't it? I bet you it does. If that's the case, I actually do not have enough stuff. A pit, excavation where stone, clay, and sand can be dug up. I assume there's no way to get myself clay naturally. So can a pit be placed literally anywhere? Let's take a look. Mining layer. There we go. So hold on. I'll bet you that yeah, okay. So this is where we could place down a pit and probably get myself some clay. Okay, at least a few more people just reach adulthood, so that's going to help. We can let 6 children get to work over here constructing the pits where they'll probably spend the rest of their miserable lives. We are completely out of power as well. Right. Okay, need to get more of those. I think we're kind of starting to run out of time for this video, but there's obviously a lot of ground to cover. The good news is the publisher has agreed to sponsor 2 more videos, so we're going to have another video for this game tomorrow and then another on release day. My goal is to at least get this community into the mid-game. And then, depending on how you guys like what you see, well, I might be willing to continue this on as a longer series. It really just depends on you, so of course you guys should consider smashing the like button down below, leaving comments showing your support, subscribing, etc., etc. Once again, thank you to the publisher for the sponsorship. I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it's got a tremendous amount of promise. It looks great, and it feels like exactly the sort of thing that I have been itching for as of late. So, of course, if you guys feel the same way and you like what you saw, there's going to be that link in the description down below. Go ahead and click on that. In the meantime, I will see you guys tomorrow. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you then.